we'll be playing Portal Knights. This is Dark Lord as your host, and in this episode I'm going to try to show an example of how to use your environment to your advantage. So, I will be using two different worlds to make this description of what I've done to just the very first world that you enter. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the first one I'm going to go to is going to be, I'm going to use my rogue, Bond, level 27, but that's not really going to have anything to do with this type of gameplay. And I'm going to go to first, let's see, I guess I'm going to go to Duloc, okay. And the reason behind Duloc is one of my knight characters' names is Farquaad, and anyway, long story, Shrek, blah blah blah. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So, I'm going to this one particularly because the environment is basically, it's not unaltered, but it is not altered enough to where you would see that major of a difference. So, as this loads, we're going to go to the very first level that you enter when you jump onto Portal Knights. And it's called Squire's Knoll. And we're going to travel. Now, when you enter the Squire's Knoll, at the very beginning, there is low-level, there's low-level enemies that are there. But there's an abundance of things that you need in regards to items to help build things, potions, etc. Okay? So when you first jump in, the portal on this world is already activated, so obviously, or I wouldn't, be in any other worlds. But some of the things you need here are trees for wood. When you chop down a tree, it gives you wood, amber, and of course a seed to plant the tree back. Now, I always recommend to everyone that whenever you tear something down and you get a seed from it, hold on to the seeds and plant them as close to the landing pad as possible, because that way when you come back for any of those items, they're available to you as soon as you jump in, and they're going to be right there in your face. Okay? Some people may or may not agree with this. It doesn't matter either way. But so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and drop 3 items up here so that I can put the seeds down. Okay? So there's the tree seed that I knocked down. The next thing you're going to need is cotton from this world. And let me go ahead and equip my axe and drop it down here. Put it right here. Well, I know I just did that. You just saw me do that. Axe, and there we go. So the next thing, and the easiest way to break the cotton, of course, is the axe. When you break the cotton, you're going to get a cotton seed, and then you're going to get cotton. Then there's the wheat. I'm going to break the wheat, I'm going to get the seed, and I'm going to get the item. Okay? There is also, that's not a very good example. Give me just a second here, and I'll show you a good example. If I can find one. I'm sure I've got one here somewhere. Now this is kind of an idea of what, there used to be a house here, by the way. I did rip it up here, but Janine, and of course, what is this guy's name? I don't even know what this guy's name is. For some reason it's not showing his name. Anyway, I guess he's not important. There's a house here, and one of the first things you do is jump in here, talk to these two. One of them will have you, or tell you that you're welcome to the garden. The other one will tell you that he's basically lazy and wants you to build his house. So I tore it down. ironic, I guess. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So, I mean, it is altered in that way, okay? I did remove the house, and there is now a floating house here, too. So, don't pay no attention to this. I might even regenerate it later, I'm not sure. This is a berry bush. You'll get a seed, and you'll get your berries. These berries are useful for, of course, getting health potions. Then there's also the stone that's here available. Of course, there's dirt that's available. Dirt is very important in this game for a lot of reasons, but we'll go over that later. If you come to run into these guys here, each one offers you something different. Of course, you're going to get experience from them. Red berries and water. Now, water and berries go hand in hand with each other because the water and the berries combined help you make the health potions. Okay. Now, like I said, this land really is, and you'll see the difference in a minute. But anyway, when you first get here, you of course want to take up some of the stone. You want to collect it. You want to collect the berries. This guy here, he'll give you an egg. You can eat the eggs to replenish your health until you start making potions. There's also wood that you can get from either tearing down the houses, and this is what the wood looks like here. Okay, this is a different type of stone right here. This stone we'll talk about later, how important it can be. There's a few lights. There's a chest. In the mine here, there's a couple of quests that you can finish. But anyway, so these are things that are obviously available here. If I've forgotten something, I'm sorry. I'll get back to it. There's also a test dummy here to see how hard you're hitting with your weapon. Okay, gives you numbers every time you throw. Okay, now if you have a strong enough weapon to do so, if you destroy this guy, you will get a drop. I don't know how much it's guaranteed to get the drop, but anyway, let's put it this way. That fluffy bunny armor, vanity armor that I was talking about in one of my latest or earliest videos, this is where you get the first drop from, is this dummy. Of course, you can move the dummy and use him as a piece of furniture in your home that you build or whatever. This is runestone that's here. And then there's also runestone around your landing pad too, but you really don't want to destroy too much of that, okay? But anyway, we'll talk about the runestones and what they can do for you later. We'll not discuss it right now, okay? But anyway, alright, so now you've seen what you can gather from here. And the resources, while it being early in the game, are very useful. So now what we're going to do, we're going to switch lands, okay? We're going to go to one that I've manipulated to my advantage. And I'll tell you what all I've done, how I did it, and what improvements I plan on making later, okay? So, we're going to play. I'm going to choose the same character, Bond, but this time, instead of going to Duloc, we're going to go to what I call Limbo. And the reason I call it Limbo is because it initially is going to be a land that I don't care to manipulate, but at the same time, I want it to look professional as much as possible. So, I got to keep that balance going. Alright, so I'm at the worm pit. That's not where we're wanting to be. So we're going to go ahead and change. And we're going to go to... And this is my homeland here too. I never did change it. I left it the way it is. And I did that on purpose. And the reason I did that, I'll explain to you as I'm traveling, is because if you decide to regenerate a map, anything that you have marked as your home that you've had a build on it will not affect that map particularly. It'll just affect the rest of the map. When you regenerate something, it basically gives you an opportunity that if you bring in a new character, everything is kind of unscathed and untouched, and it gives you the opportunity to level that character up. Now, with that being said, this is a good example of using your environment to your advantage. Okay, so the mine that used to exist is now underground here in a rabbit hole. We'll talk about that in a minute. And this is a garden, and all I've done is I've taken a hoe and I've used it to plow up the place here, and it causes the plants to grow 3 times faster. So, here's the berry bushes I've planted seeds back for. Okay. As a matter of fact, I've got a few things to go ahead and drop here. So I've got some cotton seeds. I'll go ahead and put them here. Okay. Looks like I've got a spring tree seed. I've kind of got them growing in their own little forest. I might not even have room. Let's try anyway. I'm going to continue to let them grow, but I'm going to expand them on out that direction instead of coming any further this direction. Okay. Anyway, one thing I've noticed that doesn't grow here that I've planted seeds for, so I'm eventually going to take those up. These are sweet potatoes. Some things will grow here even though they're not growing here, but you can bring them back here to grow. It just depends on the environment that they need to grow in. Carrots are obviously, I guess, having a good time. They're not, they're maturing. The wheat obviously was here before, so it's going to mature. The cotton as well. The chili seeds seem to be doing pretty good that I pulled from another world. And then there's also these, and I forget. I got these from a Winterland, but I don't know if they're maturing or not. It's hard to tell. It doesn't look like they're still seeds. It looks like they did blossom, so that's good. I thought they would only grow in a winter seasonal environment, but I guess I'm wrong. Now, you're going to ask what this is. This is sitting on my home right now because it keeps enemies from spawning. Okay. It is actually in your work table. And I believe it's under your workbench, and I believe it's under. It's either the first or second. It's probably the first. Yeah, it is the first. It's down here at the very bottom. It's a ward of protection, and what you need is studded runestone and runestone. Okay, the difference right there. You can see them. You need 4 of the studded runestone, and they're hard to break. They're not easy to break, especially if you're early level. So it takes a minute to break these. You can find them in a lot of places, but we'll discuss that at another time as well. Now this one here, this runestone, you saw plenty of it earlier as I was showing that to you. This creates a ward of protection, and what the ward of protection does is you just place it down, and then right on top of it you'll put the color of block that you need for the portal to get to where you're going. So this obviously is the first level. It's going to be blue. So you place that there, and it keeps enemies from spawning within a perimeter, and you get an outlined blue perimeter that it shows. Okay. All right. So I've manipulated this enough that there's, if I'm in here gardening or planting seeds or whatever, I'm not being bothered by any enemies. You'll notice there's no spawns. Okay. There's nobody here. Nothing here to bother me. And so the manipulation for me using and so I've went even further actually. So this house was the house that belonged to the gentleman I was telling you about, and all I did was, well, apparently I rebuilt it, but I didn't I don't know what I did to the roof up there. I guess I need to fix that in a minute. That's what the wheat's for. You can make wheat turn into straw, and then you can make straw stake or haystacks, I guess is what it is. But let me give you an idea of what I've done here. As a matter of fact, you know what? We'll probably go pick up the straw and finish fixing that in a minute. Alright, we're going to go through the door here. Now, I haven't done anything much here so far. There's a bed in here. I'm going to eventually furnish this, and I'm going to find a way to cover this hole up to where it's like a secret passage. I might even put it in a wall behind a picture frame. I don't know yet what I'm going to do. The sky's the limit. Anyway, but beyond that, so go down the set of stairs here, and this was my very first workroom. And I dropped chests in here, and, you know, I was using it to store items. Well, this room isn't very big, so then eventually I built another room. Now some of the salesmen are in here, and the salesmen are good to have, like we've discussed in the earlier videos, you know, because you can take anything that you don't want or you want to disregard, you sell them to these characters immediately. But these particular ones are here because they sell items that I like to have. Now this guy right here, we'll talk more about him later, but he sells bombs, and bombs are important for leveling up. If you want to level up a character pretty quick, I know it jumps pretty quick, but all you do is build concrete blocks in like a very heavy amount, and then you take those explosives and you throw them at the blocks, and it of course gives you XP for blowing up those concrete blocks. So that's why one of the reasons I was telling you concrete was very important to have, the blocks that I showed you earlier, because if you have those, you can use those for leveling. It's one good exploit you can have for the game. Nina is a farmer. This gentleman is an alchemist, and this guy is a miner. This guy, being a miner, he sells certain ores. You can find several of these guys. Some of them you can take with you, some of you cannot. This alchemist here, the reason he's here is because if I get lazy and don't want to build mana potions, or I don't want to build health potions, then basically, give me just 1 second. Alright, back to where I was. So I can just buy them off of this guy if I have plenty of gold to play with. Let's see. There's also items that you can use to make potions with, by the way. So that being said, I know those flowers that we were talking about, those are frost lilies. Nina, what does Nina sell? I picked her up for some reason. Oh, she sells seeds. And she also sells a hoe for gardening. This gentleman here, he sells, I think it's copper ore and coal. Both two major ingredients. The coal definitely, because you can't make any types of metals or smelt them without coal. You have to have them for the furnace. So there's those guys, that's why they're here. But anyway, originally in here, this was my workroom. This is where my workbench and everything else went. I eventually removed them because I wanted to combine the two rooms. So my storage room, this one still exists for overflow. It has various items in it, nothing major. This has got furniture in it. This has got mostly scrolls in there. Looks like traps in there. Seeds in here, basically. So I dug me a tunnel and I took out the mine, and then that little hole I was telling you about jumping down earlier, it's right there, by the way. So there is an extensive, there's a way to get in here. Eventually I'll professionally change that to where it looks better. But anyway, so you come down here. There used to be a skeleton that would appear in here. Okay, So one of the good perks about me changing this into my workroom, for one, it's got plenty of room. It's got 2 rooms. Two, a chest always spawns every time I come back here, and it always gives you blue blocks or blue block pieces, and it also gives you healing potions every time you open it. So, not a bad place to spawn. And then, of course, all my stations are here. There's the rogue, there's the knight, there's the furnace, and of course, there's the work table. I put an extra work table out here because some crafting items can take up to 5 minutes, and if I'm in a hurry and still need to make something else, I have the opportunity to use the other work table. There are chests all throughout here. Each one individually has its types of items that are in there, as you can tell. So, don't know why. I guess I must have started using this as an overflow. One thing I did do is put chests outside of the workstations. So this is for the mage. Anything that I find that belongs to the mage and I know the mage is going to use, I'm going to drop in here. That way if I come in here as a mage, then I have the opportunity to just open this box and pick up anything I might need that is useful in there. But if you go to look up above it, it's going to have the trunks. Each of these trunks is going to have like ingredients and things like that in it. Okay, so my rogue trunk is over here. Just open it up now. I started an overflow trunk for it too, so I went ahead and upgraded it to a gold one because I was running out of room in here. So there's that part for you. And that takes care of explaining how to use the environment. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, give me a shout or post it, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Here in just a moment, I'll be airing again, and I'm going to air on the build side. So, thank you for joining me for the broadcast. This is Dark Lord, and I hope to see you again soon.